We've got a lot further to go.
That's the trailer for The Hunting Ground. Just after we arrived here in Park City, I sat down with the filmmakers, Kirby Dick and Amy Ziering. Their 2012 film, The Invisible War, exposed the issue of sexual assault in the military, prompting changes in policy. That issue remains in the spotlight, as just this week, a former Army prosecutor who oversaw sexual assault cases was found guilty of rape. Major Eric Burris was court-martialed and sentenced to 20 years in prison. I began by asking Amy Ziering, producer of The Hunting Ground, why she and Kirby Dick decided to make a film on campus rape.
We weren't anticipating making another film in this same area, but every time we showed Invisible War on campuses, Amy, someone came up to us and said, actually, this happened to me here, and there's a lot of analogies between what you're pointing out going on in the military, going on at my school. And Kirby would find that as well at almost every screening at different universities across the country. And then we started getting letters in our inboxes. Dear Miss Ziering, dear Mr. Dick, will you please make a film on campus assaults? This happened to me at X university. And we actually were working on a very different project. We just looked at each other and said, we cannot not make this film. I mean, we were shocked that this is going on, and we felt like, well, actually, we understand these issues. We know how to make this kind of film, and we felt compelled to do it.
Amy, I went to one of your premieres here at Sundance, and the response afterwards was overwhelming. You were besieged. I watched one woman come up to you and say, it happened to my daughter.
No, that happens, yeah, with this film also. Yeah. And also mothers come up and said, it happened to me 30 years ago at Dartmouth. I've gotten that a lot. It happened to me 30 years ago, and thank you for doing this. I couldn't speak then.
Kirby, this film is not only about people who've been deeply hurt, sexually assaulted, raped. It's about women who are organizing right now all over the country, and it's led by two women from the University of North Carolina. Both of them were raped, Annie Clark and Andrea Pinot. They are remarkable. It happened to them several years apart from each other, but they found each other. They're now traveling the country, helping victims at universities file Title IX anti-discrimination complaints to the Department of Education. They were raped early on in their college careers?
Yes, both of them were, I think, assaulted within the first or second year that they were there, yes. And then Andrea had found out about Annie Clark's earlier activism 3 or 4 years ago and reached out, and they formed this bond, and then they started, Annie was appalled that this was still going on, and so the two of them decided to really do something. And the first thing they did was start to investigate and how to file a Title IX complaint. And so they, without any attorneys, wrote and filed a complaint against the school, which was accepted by the Department of Education.
One of the most galling parts of this film, Amy, is how administrations respond or don't respond. I mean, you have Annie Clark, now one of the organizers of a major anti-rape movement in this country. When she was raped and went to the University of North Carolina administration, one of the officials said, it's like a football game. What is like a football game?
Rape is like football. You have to think back on what you would have done differently, just like you would in any play in any game. That was what she said the administrator had said to her.
This is what was so appalling is we interviewed on camera over 60 women and men, and we were over and over and over, you hear the stories of these women who were assaulted, and that was profoundly it was traumatizing to them, but they trusted their school. They went to their school. They had the courage to come forward to talk about it, and they trusted that their school would do the right thing. And in so many cases, you heard this form of victim blaming, like it was your fault, like you drank too much, you were dressed too provocatively. And it was just from across the board, whether it's Ivy League schools, Southern schools, small liberal arts colleges. It was shocking.
Amy, can you talk about some of the examples of some of the punishments that are meted out to students? Rarely are they found responsible, but in the cases that they are?
No, the punishments are ridiculous. One was like a $75 fine, a $25 fine, a book report, a poster board on 10 ways to approach a girl you like. What was it at another school?
Well, it was 50 hours of community service at a rape crisis center.
Perpetrator is told to serve at a rape crisis center?
Yes, yes. which is just the most absurd.
Kirby, you have these full screens in the film that show statistics, the number of people who complain on campuses of rape or sexual assault. And of course, this is very small compared to how many are actually raped or assaulted. But those numbers compared to how many people are expelled. And at university after university, you see on the screen a big fat zero.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is what was so shocking, is that these schools, I mean, we know that assaults are going on in each of these schools hundreds of times a year, perhaps even thousands of times a year at these schools, and yet no one is getting expelled year after year after year. A University of Virginia, for example, well over 200 assaults over a period of time that people have reported. These are only the reported assaults, keep in mind. No one was expelled during that time. There's
something else that's very profound in this film. You come to understand universities all too often want to protect their brand more than the victim. That they don't want to report these assaults. They don't want to expel people. And yet, when it comes to what is called honor crimes, like plagiarism, they expel scores of people. Explain.
I mean, one of the unfortunate things is there's very little transparency on this issue across the campus and across the country. So it's very hard to even get these numbers. We were fortunate to get these numbers from the University of Virginia, who had not expelled anyone over a multi-year period, yet they had expelled, I think, nearly 200 people for other much more minor infractions like plagiarism. So that really tells you a lot about the priorities of the school and about the fact that protecting their students is not the #1 priority.
In the hunting ground, you interview people at every level, look, women or men who've been sexually assaulted. You also have a rapist who's come out of jail, his face fogged. Explain his story.
Well, what he had to say was that, I mean, one of the things, our film shows is just like in the military, these crimes are committed by a small number of men, a small percentage of men. Most men are not rapists. Most men in most athletes are not rapists. Most men in fraternities are not rapists. But it's a small percentage of men who are committing these crimes and committing them over and over. So repeat offenders really are the core of this problem. So we were able to interview one, and he talked about the MO of a repeat offender, which is, to pick out someone who seems, doesn't seem to have friends around them, who is getting drunk, who feels safe in a college environment, and then befriend them. And he said it's something that, can be done again and again. And he actually did say if they're not caught, the likelihood of them repeating is, in his words, nearly 100%.
And if I can add, it was based on all that research and our knowledge that we wanted to name the film The Hunting Ground and show that it's actually a calculated, premeditated act. It is not bad, it's not a hookup gone bad, it's not he said, she said, it's not all the things that people intuitively think is what's going on. Oh, we can't do anything about it, kids drink, what you gonna do? It's actually not, and that I think is really shocking and revelatory and what people need to know and understand.
You interview a campus police officer at the University of Notre Dame who would ultimately resign because he felt he was thwarted from conducting investigations into allegations of sexual assault. He said that the campus police were not allowed to approach any student athlete or an employee of an athletic facility or department to find out where an athlete might be.
So that's what the problem is. It's not that, athletes are rapists. It's the problem is we have a broken system that allows them to commit these crimes without any kind of repercussions. Yeah, right? They're protected. I mean, it's crazy, and and that's really what we want to come across. Is it's a hunting ground. It's a place where people are not safe, not because there's a preponderance of perpetrators, but because there's nothing in place to prosecute those people, and there's no incentive to do so.
Kirby Dick, the statistics are astounding. When you talk about 16 to 20% of undergraduate women have been sexually assaulted on college campuses across the country, you say 88% of women raped on college campuses do not report, 88%. In 2012, 40% of colleges reported 0 sexual assaults, and less than 8% of men commit more than 90% of the assaults?
Yeah, I mean, this is, it's astonishing. Again, this, of course, the last figure goes back to the fact that these are repeat offenders, that, this is not drunk hookups, he said, she said. This is really another way to refer to it is target rape, that these are men who do this again and again and get better at it each time.
In September, we spoke to Emma Sulkowicz, who's also featured in The Hunting Ground. Emma Sulkowicz is the Columbia University student who says she was raped by a fellow student. After she reported her assault to Columbia, she had to go before a disciplinary panel where she was forced to explain to a university official how the painful manner in which she had been raped was physically possible. Then the panel found that the accused assailant was not responsible. 2 other women also came forward with complaints against the same student. So in protest, Emma Sulkowicz vowed to carry a dorm mattress around with her everywhere on campus until the student is either expelled or leaves on his own. So on Democracy Now!, she explained why she chose this form of protest.
I was raped in my own bed. And of course, rape can happen anywhere, but for me, it sort of desecrated one of the most intimate and private places of my life. And the way that I've brought my story from a place that I keep secret out into the public eye sort of mirrors carrying the mattress itself out into the light for everyone to see. So I felt like it would be an appropriate metaphor.
That's Emma Sulkowicz, the Columbia University student, on Democracy Now! She was just invited by New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand to be her guest at the State of the Union address. Can you talk about how these women who feel that their complaints, that their allegations of rape and sexual assault are not being taken seriously by administrations are taking action? They're building a movement in this country.
It is incredible what they've accomplished, what young women like Emma and Annie and Andrea in our film. I mean, in 2 years, this has gone from something that nobody talked about to something that's on the front pages daily. But I just want to say that that's just the beginning. It's really up to all of us, you know, parents, teachers, faculty, trustees, everyone, to solve this problem, because it's been going on for decades.
Now scores of universities, colleges across the country are being investigated.
Yeah, I think we now have up to 95 schools are being investigated for Title IX violations. And you know, those investigations take a long, long time. I mean, and so far, I mean, I applaud the Department of Education for taking this on, but the schools themselves should not wait to be investigated. They should be solving this problem themselves before this ever happens.
As we wrap up, you did Invisible War to tremendous acclaim, and it has really begun a movement in this country to deal with sexual assault in the military. And the big move, especially in Congress, is to have these investigations taken out of the chain of command, because so often they're involved either with the cover-up or perhaps even involved. Now, with this film, The Hunting Ground, you're talking about assaults on college campuses. Is there a similar move in the movement that's growing around the country to, in a sense, take the investigation out of the chain of command as well, out of the power of the university that's protecting its brand?
Yeah, there has been. I mean, one of the solutions that people have come up with is have independent bodies investigate these crimes that don't answer to the university itself, so that you take out that inherent bias, and that would just ensure a fairer system, whatever the outcome is. And so that is something that many people are pushing and suggesting, and one of the things that we recommend.
That was producer Amy Ziering and director Kirby Dick. Their film, The Hunting Ground, about sexual assault on college campuses, has just premiered here at the Sundance Film Festival. Their previous film, The Invisible War, about rape in the military, won the Audience Award at Sundance in 2012 and was nominated for an Academy Award. When we come back, I speak with one of the Senate's leading advocates for changing the way universities and the military respond to sexual violence, California Senator Barbara Boxer. We'll talk about her bill, her plans for retirement, and why she supports President Obama's authorization for war. This is Democracy Now! We're broadcasting from Park City TV. Back in a minute.